Hey folks, Nick here from another BookTube channel today with my quarterly book haul. I do these 4 times a year, just so I can go over what I have recently accumulated in my book collection for the past 3 months. So this is going to be everything that I bought in January, February, and March of 2024 is the year that we are currently in. And you know what? I was good. I was a very good boy this quarter because while there are a lot of books in this haul, a decent amount, good amount, um, I got most of them for really, really cheap. I think of the novels that I bought this quarter, none of them were full price. I got all of them from a used bookstore. The graphic novels I bought, I paid full price for, but everything else I got super cheap. So honestly, this was very fiscally responsible of me, and I was a very good boy, and you should all be very proud of me. Um, also, you'll notice that the majority of the books in this haul are from a single author and from a single series. I bought a butt ton of Ed McBain 87th Precinct books. I'll do those after I get through the few that aren't Ed McBain. So stick around if you're an Ed McBain fan. Um, but also, I got some big, big books, literally physically big books this quarter. Which stay tuned, you don't want to miss those. But first up, though, I got a copy of Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This was one of the most surprising books I read last year. I read this as part of my back to school challenge, which I really need to get back to. I've put that going. I put that off for a while. I really need to resume that. But I loved Jane Eyre, and I didn't expect to because in high school I hated it or I DNF'd it or whatever. And I thought it was terrific. So I wanted a copy for myself to have in the home, but the bookstore copies now, like current copies, they're all like nice special editions generally, and I see them like 15, 20, $25. And I'm like, this is one of the most published books ever. So I'm sure if I wait, I'll find a copy at a used bookstore for cheap. And sure enough, I did, and this will satisfy my need for having a physical copy. Plenty. Don't need a fancy special edition. Next up, I'm pretty sure I got this quarter. There's a chance I got this at the end of last year and I just forgot about it. So maybe it's in my last video as well for my last book haul. But just in case it's not, The Princess Bride by William Goldman. This was a gift that I received from my mother-in-law. And I haven't read it yet, but I love the movie The Princess Bride, and I've heard really great things about the book. But yeah, I'm hoping that the book is just as entertaining. Um, Next, something completely different. The Executioner, #8, Chicago Wipeout by Don Pendleton. This is a Mac Bolan book. I read Executioner #7 last August for Garb August. And I liked it. It wasn't, my favorite, but I liked it well enough where I'd be willing to read more of the series. So I figured I would get this, and I'm going to save it for this Garb August as well. I think it's a perfect type of book for that month. So stick around in August, for my eventual thoughts about that one. But if you don't know the Mac Bolan series, the Executioner series, it's basically the ultimate male fantasy of lone man, one man army, taking down criminals and organized crime and sleeping with beautiful women, like what every man wants. It's pretty fun. It's pretty good. Next, I got The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux, which I bought kind of on a whim. I've never seen The Phantom of the Opera in any capacity. Like I've never seen a live version of it. I've never seen a movie version of it. Wait, have I? I don't think that I have. The closest I've probably come is Phantom of the Paradise by Brian De Palma, which is another really great movie. Um, but yeah, this was one I spotted it at that used bookstore, and it was a great price. I think it was like $1, maybe even less. And I thought, hey, why not? Another classic to add, just to add to my collection. Looking to read that hopefully soon. God, the year is really getting away from me. We're already done with March. My God, there's still so much I want to read. Story of my life, huh? Story of all of our lives. So much to read, not enough time. Um, and I got another crime book that's not Ed McBain. This is The Sins of the Father by Lawrence Block. I've only recently gotten into crime fiction with the 87th Precinct books, and I've heard the name Lawrence Block. Um, they were thrown around as another juggernaut of like police procedural crime fiction or something along those lines. And I've heard this book name before, so I grabbed it. I'm going to give this a shot, see if I could get, another author in that genre that I really like that I could start exploring other than just Ed McBain. Um, let's look at some graphic novels now. I got the Boy Maxi Mortal by Rick Veitch. This is the long anticipated follow up to his Maxi Mortal series, which it's been about 30 years since that concluded. This is now the complete volume 2 of the King Hell Heroica, and it was pretty good. I did a comic read along video of this, so I would check that out if you want more in detail thoughts. Basically, the short version is Rick Veitch's writing is as strong as ever, but as he's gotten older, as he's switched venues in which he's distributing these books, he's taken a lot of shortcuts in his art, which I understand, but it is a little disappointing to say. So it's cool that this book exists. I'm glad it does, and I hope you guys pick it up if you're Rick Veitch fans, which you should be. If you're not a Rick Veitch fan, that's because you haven't read any Rick Veitch. Go check out his Amazon page. He does everything print on demand nowadays, so you can get the original Maxi Mortal or Brat Pack just printed on demand for I think $20. Just get it. They're great comics. Really, I cannot emphasize enough how great of a creator he is. Speaking of great, Killing and Dying by Adrian Tomina. This is, I think, the last paperback, the last collected edition of his collecting his Optic Nerve series. I think this is it. And it's fantastic. I think I mentioned it in my monthly wrap up video recently. But this is a collection of short stories that deal with a number of topics and do so in realistic, bittersweet ways that just make you sit and think and feel. There's so much just feeling that Adrian Tomina evokes in his comics. He's wonderful. If you've never read a comic book before, any comic book, if you think comics are not for me, I urge you to read some Adrian Tomina because he's probably the closest I could think of to just like pure literary brilliance, but in comic book format. So please check him out. And the last graphic novel, well, actually not the last graphic novel, but the last just like small one is The Crow Special Edition by James O. Barr. I also did a full review of this earlier as well. I was an emo teenager, but despite that, I never read The Crow. I had never seen The Crow movie until recently. I read this and then watched the movie, and they're great. They're really this is another series that is very much evoking emotions in the reader in a little bit of a different way than Adrian Tomita does with Killing and Dying and with his stories. This is pure, just like self-pity pathos, because the author, James O. Barr, was dealing with a very difficult trauma in his own life, and he created this comic as a cathartic outlet for those feelings he was having. And it really comes across in the art, in the story, in the writing, and it's really strong. So if you've seen the movie The Crow with Brandon Lee and you like that, you've never read the comics, you should definitely check out the original comic. Okay, I had to stop and get up to get this next book, or series of books, really, because it's really heavy. It is the complete Calvin and Hobbes graphic novel collection. It's 4 books. Calvin and Hobbes is I can't even hold it. Actually, you know what? This will be my workout for the day. Holding this up. Calvin and Hobbes is a great newspaper comic that ran for about a decade. I had discovered it myself at the end of last year, and I was really late to the party. All of my friends were already huge Calvin and Hobbes fans, so I picked up just a couple random graphic novels that collected a few of the strips, and I loved them. So I just went out and I got the whole thing because I love them so much. Bill Watterson was a genius. Oh my god. Okay, that's enough of holding that. But it's a really nice box set. The books themselves really well produced. Really great reproductions of the comic strips. Includes everything, including the dailies and the Sundays. So that's just awesome. If you're a Calvin and Hobbes fan, can't recommend that enough. All right, I do have one more really big book, but I'm going to save that for the very end. So let's take a look at all of these 87th Precinct books that I bought. First one is Till Death. This is, I think, maybe like the 8th or 9th or 10th, I don't know, in the series. Read this one already, loved it. King's Ransom. I actually did a full video on this one where I review it and compare it to the film adaptation by Akira Kurosawa. That was a really fun video to make. Super niche. It was kind of doomed to fail. But I loved it. So if you're a fan of McBain, if you're a fan of Kurosawa, please check out that video. Give the Boys a Great Big Hand. The Heckler. These are all like different editions too. I mean, I was just at the mercy of what the used bookstore had available. The Empty Hours I have here. Oops, I'm putting these. I have to make sure I put these back in order because I have them ordered chronologically in terms of publication. I want to make sure I don't mess that up. He Who Hesitates, I've got next. 80 Million Eyes. But no, all of these I have not read yet. So these are all waiting. 8 Black Horses. And Lightning. What? Oh no, I'm dropping them all. Oh god. Alright. Ice, which I guess is a companion to Lightning, because they're both like weather. I don't know. Long Time No See. Kiss. This one looks so very like 90s, doesn't it? This one has to be a more recent one. Yeah, I think it would have to be. But like, look at that cover with the silver. Mischief. This is another one that's got to be 90s. Look at that color palette. This looks like the carpeting at a bowling alley. And the last paperback is The Big Bad City. And then I actually managed to get a hardcover that features Ed McBain's picture on the cover. Fat Ollie's book. Look at that guy. Look at Ed McBain. This is a guy, he wrote like a billion books, and they're all really good. So far, at least. I don't know. So yeah, those are all of the 87th Precinct books that I got. Let me know which of those you've read and which ones you've enjoyed. Now it's time for the really, really big book. Okay, you might be able to tell I'm a little out of breath. I'm having to carry this one across my apartment. This is the biggest book that I got this quarter. It also might be the biggest book that I own in general. And if you follow my comic content, you might already know what it is. It is the Fantastic Worlds of Frank Frazetta, the Taskin big ass book, which is beautiful. This is awesome. This is a not comprehensive, but really, really well researched and just like full accounting of a lot of Frank Frazetta's paintings and works that he did for comics and paperbacks and like movie posters, pretty much everything. There's a lot of stuff in here that I've never seen published elsewhere, which was really cool to see. A lot of stuff that I had been starting to believe that I had seen every Frazetta painting that I possibly could, and I was very much wrong about that. So even just for that, it was worth the price of admission alone. If you're a Frank Frazetta fan, that book, I would say, like, go for it. Like, dive in. Like, you could get like the little hardcovers of just like the fantastic paintings of Frazetta, or the fantastic like comic covers of Frazetta. Like, those books exist, and they're really well produced. They're really nice, but you buy all of those, they're going to add up to more expensive than just this book alone. And this book is so nice, so well produced. The reproductions are fantastic. Just do it. If you love Frazetta, just do it. Really. Was at my door. So that's it for my quarterly book haul. Let me know if you saw anything that caught your interest. If you saw anything that you've read before that you think I should prioritize. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to read all of these eventually, whenever that may be. But thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now, it's time to get back to reading.